This is your source for breaking news and what to make of it all. This is the Mike Gallagher Show.
This is not about politics. It's about us, the USA. And look at how great Americans are when purpose comes to us in a crisis. And two tribes start to fight each other in partisan politics. And that is not what we need. We need a collection right now. This is a tug of war with the virus. We need all hands on the rope.
Now, from the ReliefFactor.com studios, here's Mike Gallagher.
I've known Sean Hannity for a long time. He often says, "Let not your heart be troubled." And I have that for some reason in my whole psyche these days. We cannot get twisted around the axle on and be angry. We've got to lose the anger and the rage and the emotion, and we've got to replace it with a sense of steely resolve. We have to be confident in this country and know that we're going to get through everything we're getting through. There's always going to be evil out there. We know that evil exists. Don't get distracted by all the noise and stay focused on what matters. I mean, there's a theory that the media and all the opponents of Donald Trump are sort of rooting for the virus. I know it's an awful thing to say. I don't want to believe that of anyone. I don't care what your political beliefs are. I don't want to believe that anybody wants this virus to be as bad as it can be in the way it's portrayed so that Trump can get defeated. I don't want to accept that, but sadly, I think we have to acknowledge that something very devious and ugly is happening in America. Let me give you a perfect example. Do you know what all the numbers are in New York with the same hysterical coverage of the new infection cases are in Florida and in Texas and other states? Do you know where they are right now in New York City? Because you remember just a couple of months ago, my birthday, they had like nearly 1,000 people die in a day. They had refrigerated trucks outside the hospitals to store all the bodies. It was hell on earth. Everybody knows it. You know where they are now in New York City? You know they didn't have a single death in the last 24 hours? New York City reached its first day in nearly 4 months without a single coronavirus death in a city of many millions of people. They have 800 people in the hospital in the state of New York. They have 100 people in the state in ICU with intubation. Now, these are numbers that you would think the national news media would be all over. And you know why they're not? Because Americans could come to the same conclusion that I've come to. Not hard to figure out that if New York can get there, so can Florida. If New York can get ahead of this thing, and they have, so can Texas. See, that's not a narrative or a story that they want to spend a lot of time on over at CNN. They want to scare the heck out of you and make you think that this country is never coming back from this thing until, probably first week in November. I'm telling you, ask yourself, wouldn't this be a huge story? The number of new cases, percentage of tests, and other data is pretty dramatic in New York City. Why isn't the country talking about that? Instead, we're talking about Florida, new national record for the largest daily increase in cases. And incidentally, I don't want to ignore that. That's terrible. I don't know how long it's going to take for deaths to catch up to the new infections and the new hospitalizations and the new cases. I'm not trying to be oblivious to that. I have no crystal ball, and I don't trust a lot of the experts, the same ones who told us not to wear masks before they told us to wear masks. So look at this dichotomy. Look at this contradiction. Florida has a record number of new cases, and they opened Disney World. You know? And let me give you a PS to the New York numbers, which are, that's a very, maybe the most significant aspect of the good news out of New York. And this is why it's so complicated. I talked to a business executive yesterday afternoon who knows New York like the back of his hand. Just a New York guy, been around a long time, a respected, beloved executive in New York City. He said, here's the reality. When we open up and when we come back, it's not going to even look anything close to the way it used to look. There are many businesses that cannot come back. There are many jobs that have been lost forever. New York has been decimated economically by the lockdown. Now, did the lockdown work? I don't know. I will tell you this. New York has been a lot more cautious and a lot slower to open than anybody else. You still can't apparently go inside to eat in New York City. It's been months since I've been there. I don't know. I keep hearing from Texas Governor Abbott that the bars opened really has taken a toll in Texas and Florida and Arizona and other states. They shouldn't have opened the bars, perhaps. They shouldn't have opened the restaurants. I don't know, because here's the other unanswered question. When New York does get back to normal, quote unquote, are they going to see surging, exploding infection rates too? We don't know the answer to that. We don't know. And we ought to know what we don't know. But here's what I do know. The story of New York right now is being largely suppressed in the mainstream media. This should be the lead story everywhere. And that's why my heart is not troubled right now. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through all of it. 1-800-655-MIKE is our number. It's 14 past the hour. We got a lot to cover here on a Breaking News Monday here in the ReliefFactor.com studios. I'm so glad you're with us. I just am of this mindset today. Maybe it's just today. Maybe it'll last. Lose the anger. Lose the anger. Don't sit around and get angry about the Washington Redskins deciding to drop their name. That doesn't affect your life. AOC calling for a boycott of Goya Foods because the CEO dared to compliment the president of the United States. Don't get angry about that. Go buy Goya Foods. I bought 3 bags worth over the weekend and donated them to a food bank, just like Goya does. They donate tons of food to poor and underprivileged and underserved communities. They have 4,000 employees. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez evidently wants them to be out of work. Don't get angry. Just go buy the product. Don't be a part of a boycott and getting all bent out of shape. Just vote with your feet. And yes, vote. Wait till you hear what Ronna McDaniel told Fox News this morning about voter registration for the Republican Party. Got a lot to celebrate today. As always, we want your voice involved in all of it as we invite you to join us. 1-800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. Call, text, leave a voicemail message. Welcome in to the Mike Gallagher Show.